Welcome to the SaaS AdLab podcast, where we bring to you the stories of SaaS founders, entrepreneurs, and CEOs. My name is Luis. I'm the owner and founder of Fantôm Agency, a digital marketing agency specializing in scaling SaaS companies. And today I have the pleasure of interviewing Michael from AdLib. Thank you so much for being on today. I know it's kind of hard to get bookings and stuff like that and figuring out times for everyone. But I appreciate you taking the time of the day to be on here and enlightening us with some programmatic ad knowledge. So why don't you just tell us a little bit more about yourself and AdLib?
Sure. Thanks, Louis. So I founded AdLib about 2 years ago after spending the previous 9 years at a company called MediaMath, which is the largest independent media buying platform out there. So the likes of world's largest Fortune 100 companies that are buying millions and tens of millions of dollars of ad space across the internet, across display and video and native ads and social ads. When they're not using a platform like Google or Facebook for reasons such as data privacy concerns and just a desire to control that data and other efficiency and economic reasons, they'll use a platform like MediaMath. And you may have heard of some other players out there like The Trade Desk or AppNexus or even Adobe have media buying platforms. So the background is that I spent the past 10 years in programmatic ad buying, and myself and my co-founders working at MediaMath identified an opportunity to bring the power and the reach and the scale of this platform that is typically reserved for people who are spending tons and tons of money. They're the only ones who really get access to the premium rest of the internet to reach their consumers, to get their messages out there. It's behind a bit of a velvet red rope, if you will. We saw an opportunity to bring that quality and that platform to the rest of the marketers out there who historically have been limited to only being able to access those closed those closed platforms, the walled gardens of Facebook and Google. When they look elsewhere and they look at other platforms, they're typically looking at maybe a tier 2 programmatic platform or a managed service, and that often leaves a lot to be desired in terms of quality and real reach. When you want to be on the front page of CNN and the front page of ESPN and LinkedIn and Reddit and all these super premium popular publishers, and then have global access, you would really want to be accessing a platform like MediaMath. So we set off on this journey to build version of a premium ad platform that's easy to access and easy to use. And we've been getting a lot of traction, a lot of excitement in the marketplace about what we've built. And we're excited to evolve and take things really to the next level over the next 6 months and year as we grow our name in the space and people become more aware of what we have.
That's awesome. And I got to say, I've seen that you're super active on different communities, whether it's on Facebook, LinkedIn, and everywhere, and just trying people to get them to use the product. So as far as, what kind of acquisition methods have been the most successful for you as, a startup and knowing that you have access to this platform? I guess you could be reaching people through the platform, but you decide to do it in a more non-scalable way, and what's the reason for that?
So we're definitely eating our own dog food as far as running paid advertising, whether that be remarketing, people who have been to our website and haven't signed up, or looking for new prospects and audiences like media buyers and marketing decision makers. So you may have seen our ads out there. If you visit our website, you'll probably see them following you around the internet. It's a really effective technique. We're using it ourselves. Something we've been doing to complement that. The other kind of pillars beyond paid media. As you mentioned, trying to establish the AdLib brand, and myself as kind of a leader or a thought leader in the space, and getting my name and the AdLib name out there in communities out there on Facebook, which is incredibly active, has been the Facebook and all of the different groups out there has been the #1 source of lead generation as far as kind of like earned content and myself putting myself out there, whether that be Reddit, which definitely has a super active community amongst, in marketers. Facebook has been the best source there beyond just straight up cold calling and LinkedIn. Finding the right people at the right marketing agencies, at the right brands that have influence or control over media buying budgets and test budgets, and sending messages, connecting, getting some time on the phone. And once I'm able to kind of give the demo or tell our story, there seems to be a lot of interest. But there's only so many hours in the day, and it's certainly not scalable. Some of the things I'm really excited about that we're doing now involve intercom, lead capture, nurturing, and and an automated onboarding. We're trying to remain a self-service product from prospecting through onboarding. So we're definitely looking at the tools out there that can help us scale without, in a non-linear fashion, and definitely not dependent on humans behind it to scale.
That's really cool. And as far as, what's been the biggest challenge with, I guess, getting in front of the right people?
A couple of things come to mind. Just time is always a big challenge. I left my full-time role at MediaMath in November, and we launched a self-service platform in January. So it's still pretty fresh, and the paint is still pretty wet as far as the product. We were doing managed service for about a year before that, and finding the right people to go after, picking up the phone, messaging people on LinkedIn, and just getting people interested in accessing MediaMath maybe by managed service, and then we started building the tools around that. So time, really having a focused energy, whether that be for myself or someone else, to find the right people, and hammer away on that and have a really structured lead generation process. It's just kind of getting out there. When I put the offer, right now we're running that offer with $150 in free ad credit, which, by the way, if you don't have yet, go to getadlib.com and feel free to sign up. People are interested. They get interested, and they're about the idea of a new ad buying platform that's not Facebook, that's not Google, that's going to get them on the rest of the internet globally, on premium publishers, and there's excitement. So I think we've been focusing a lot this past 6 months on foundational work and making sure we're ready and able to support demand and clients when they come on board, and kind of slowly been opening up the faucet a little, little by little, and that's going to be our focus for the second half, is structured lead generation and getting that continuing to open up the faucet now that we've been working out some of the kinks with onboarding and activation.
That's really cool. Do you find that maybe education is one of the kind of like the barriers of entry when you're talking about these types of programmatic? Because being completely transparent here, myself, I'm a marketer, and I'm not very familiar with programmatic media buying and things like that. So I guess that's kind of like the question that I have, right? Is do you feel like you're reaching a lot of marketers that aren't necessarily well versed with programmatic, or do you find that most of them, I feel like most of them know a little bit about it, but haven't actually dived in and really done anything great with it, mainly because it almost seems like there's something, intimidating about it?
Definitely. And that's one of the, I guess, challenges or mysteries we were hoping to create some clarity around. Even some of the language we've been using, programmatic itself is a scary word. I think it has associated with it complexity. It has associated with it quality, concerns, quality challenges, fraud, and all of these things. And those are realities in the programmatic space. And unless you're an expert, historically, I guess, unless you're an expert, unless you know how to avoid these landmines, how to apply the right protection in this vast ecosystem where there's definitely things to look out for, you can get burned. So that's something that we are packaging up and kind of eliminating as one of those complexities and one of those things you need to worry about, some of those things you need to be thinking about. And what we're saying is this is an ad buying platform that lets you buy ads on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You're very familiar with buying ads on Facebook.
Right.
That lets you buy ads on Facebook. You're very familiar with buying ads on YouTube. That lets you buy ads on YouTube. You're familiar with buying ads on Google, and you know that that's pretty good. But it's only the properties that are on Google's exchanges. There's a whole another world out there. We have access to 500 billion with B impression opportunities a day across the entirety of the internet. Google's ad exchanges, the rest of the ad exchanges, and we're layering in automatically for all of our marketers, for everybody that uses our platforms, all of the best in class, industry best fraud protection, quality protection, viewability, filters, things like that, to make it more performant, to make it less scary, to make it more addressable, and something that you don't have to think about, you just know is being taken care of. Because yes, it's a lot of learning, there's a lot of things to look out for, but if you have a partner that takes care of all that for you, then maybe the education is a little bit less intimidating, and it feels a lot more familiar because you're already doing this very familiar things in a walled garden or in a Google.
That's really cool. And as far as educating people and other approaches aside of just calling it something differently, calling it a different name, are you doing anything as far as like content marketing and putting stuff out there that kind of explains the benefits of going through programmatic / ad buying compared to maybe like using something like Facebook or Google to get your ads and get your your impressions around the internet?
We're getting there. We're in the middle of a whole brand relaunch and content relaunch, new site, new explainer video, talking about some of the things as far as the increased scrutiny and the lens that Facebook and kind of Google are now under, and some of the business practices that are being exposed that marketers aren't all too happy with.
Right.
There's philosophical concerns, there's real privacy concerns, and they're looking for an alternative. So I think, we need to do a better job of making people aware of how we can be that alternative, the accessible alternative, because typically they can't, they're relegated to what is available to them. And none of the options historically have been really ticking all the boxes. So putting together some content. We're excited to get our new site launched, hopefully in the next few weeks. It's a big process, and I've been putting myself out there and creating the Facebook community, the Facebook group for programmatic ad experts. That's been a really incredible. We're at over 500 users in like a few weeks, which I just can't believe that's been happening, and trying to raise more awareness. There's a lot of new people in the space, a lot of people new to programmatic, trying to make that leap, from what they've been running into new open ecosystems, and figuring out a way to harness that audience, for good, and to help educate them is certainly something top of mind.
Mm-hmm. Now, as far as pricing goes, I am familiar with some of the programmatic ad platforms out there that you have to typically upfront a lot of the cost. Is that something that you're going to be doing as well, or do you want to approach pricing it a different way?
So a lot of things in our business, we're trying to model ourselves after what people are comfortable with and what's proven to be working. With Facebook and with Google, people are used to connecting their billing information, whether that be credit card or checking account information, and getting billed at certain thresholds. So you get like a daily, depending on how much you're spending in a day, or what the state of the relationship is. When you start off, you get billed, say every $500, or once a day, every $1,000. And then in time, if the relationship blossoms and they're interested in, we are at a point where we want to extend some terms. It's certainly something we do, something we're open to. We understand that's how a lot of the business works today. So it's a conversation to be had. In the meantime, if you want to get started really quickly and easy and just kind of get a bill every night, or get billed, have that nightly billing based on spend, we make that really easy. It's using Stripe, just like kind of everybody else is used to.
Yeah, that's the main reason I asked that question, is because you actually have a very similar offer to what Google does with AdWords, though you get $150 in credit. And that, it really catches people's attention, I think. And one of the things I think that's one of the things that typical programmatic media platforms have, is that you have to get on the phone with them and talk to them and get all sorts of things squared away before you can actually start running ads. So I think that doing it as a completely, self-serve would be one of the top, I guess, differentiators, if you want to call it that. That would kind of put you, in front of those, it's almost like, when you go to any platform and they want to, you either schedule a demo, or you have the other one where you start a free trial. And personally, I hate scheduling demos. I just want to go in and start doing whatever I wanted to do. And if I can't find that, I usually go to the next one, and try to find one where I can actually play around and do whatever I was trying to do, which is, I guess it could go both ways though. If they're going to go in there and it seems complicated, then you kind of lost them because you didn't have the opportunity to guide them. So what do you think about those different models of, I guess, onboarding?
Yeah, I'll say that the offer seems to solve one of the challenges which we have, with media buying. There's no free trial, right? You have to buy ads, so somebody has to be paying for those ads. Dangling a little bit of a carrot as our free trial to say, hey, test this out. You've got nothing to lose. See the quality of the traffic. See where your ads are running. See how easy it is to really set up a campaign, upload your ads. It just takes a minute or two, and start to get a sense of what it's like to work with us. And from there, people are satisfied, and they'll hook up their billing. They shouldn't have to have this whole song and dance. Most other platforms, like your point, you have to commit to an annual spend minimum before you're even getting your login, right? I have to commit to hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands. It's just in fees. So we're similarly trying to follow the model of what has been proven successful in the platforms that are out there. Google gives 150 ad credit. We give 150 in ad credit, and it's proven successful, right? People are like, oh yeah, why not? I'm gonna run some ads. They see that they're running on premium sites. They see it's easy. It's reaching performance. It's getting a good CTR. It's getting a good click-through rate. It's driving conversions. The CPCs are good. The cost model is what they're familiar with, in that it's not a cost plus model. That's something maybe to talk about. You enter in your budget, and we're giving you access to a marketplace. So just like Facebook, just like Google, we will spend up to that budget, and we don't add anything on top of that. All of the fees come from that budget that you're putting out there. So you don't have to think about, am I going to get charged? What kind of fees are going to be put on top of this? It's a marketplace that you have access to, a premium one, and that's really proven to kind of be successful so far as far as we put the offer out there. If people want to give it a test drive, and I think that was there a second part to that. There was a balance part. I think it may have
Yeah,
you may have left out there.
about, whether, or I guess your view on having people try something out beforehand, or you guiding them through, without them being able to try it out first.
Oh yeah, yeah. So we've kind of been married the two. Right now, if you go to the platform, if you go to the sign up for the credit, you get prompted to schedule a free strategy session, which will get you 30 minutes with me or one of our account success managers to guide you through the platform and to make sure that your first campaign is set up for success and that you know how to use it. Of course, you can go in before that, and we are using, like I mentioned, we're using Intercom, we're using user pilot for some guides to get people acclimated. And we need some videos. We need to improve that whole experience to make it more seamless, to really take advantage of what all those platforms offer as far as trigger-based messages and all that stuff. To make it such that I don't need to give the demo every single time, so people have an aha moment. But the feedback I'm getting so far is like what we've put there is good. So like, yeah, like I mostly got it. Like this is definitely now I totally get it after the demo. So whether maybe we give or maybe a record one or just get some video tutorials for each section, something to think about over the next month or so. Add it to the pile.
Yeah, that's definitely, I think videos are good. And definitely like user pilot, just something guiding you through everything that you're doing is usually pretty helpful. And I think that typically gets rid of the need for, a one-on-one demo. So that's good. And I'd like to talk a little bit more about technology and kind of, what the capabilities of the actual platform are that you guys have, for anyone that might not be super familiar with this, including myself. Like what,
Sure.
how can we target people? Is it, very similar to what we're able to do in Facebook or Google and things like that, where you have your interest based, your behavior based, and all those? Are you able to target placements specifically like on Google, or what are the options that people have?
So it's everything. It's first of all, it's a global platform. So you'll have access globally to 250 plus countries and territories. You're reaching users across websites and apps, access to programmatic audio, so podcasts, audio inventory, digital out of home. If you've been in New York City and you see like some of the kiosks or the the kiosks on every corner that are more digital, you can run digital out of home through our platform on New York City street corners and other digital out of home billboard placements. So connected TV, all the other emerging programmatic channels, all of this is available through MediaMath. It's all available through our platform. So it starts off with the type of inventory and what you want to, type of ads you want to run. From there, defining the audience, certainly all of the audience demographic, interest, intent, purchase behavior, psychographic, predictive modeling, all of the above are included. So MediaMath is integrated with 50 plus data providers. There's 50,000 segments from BlueKai to Exelate, Axiom, LiveRamp, MasterCard, all of the big names with really strong signals for all the categories I mentioned above, and beyond. So if you want to target the audience, you're going to be able to find it in the platform. And then you layer in things like context. So what are the keywords on the page? What is the person actually reading at that point in time? And that could be down to the keyword level. You start to layer in all of these different capabilities as far as the audience, including your own website visitors, your own CRM data. If I have an email list, if I have people who have been to my website and people who have abandoned a cart or abandon a registration, your own first party data also comes on board and can be layered into your campaigns to reactivate users or drive abandoners through further down the funnel. So that's just the tip of the iceberg in terms of audience data and the ways in which you can segment the people by persona. and by kind of what you know about their behavior. Uh, Targeting based on specific, then you can layer in things like site lists. If you know you want to run on this list of 100 industry publications, or exclude this list of 100 publications we never want to run on. Geo-targeting, geo-fencing, people who have recently visited Mercedes-Benz dealerships, people who are within 5 meters of this venue where an event is taking, 5 kilometers of where a venue is taking place in a month from now. So all the different things you could dream of, from postcode targeting to city targeting to geofencing, are layered in. So it's Facebook and beyond, lookalike modeling using lookalike audiences powered by MediaMath. So everything you'd be used to, and everything you'd want to be able to access, plus probably some new capabilities are made available to anybody in the platform.
That's awesome. That sounds super cool. And I definitely want to try it out. I know that I got the 50 app. I just haven't had a chance to do it. And let's talk a little bit more about yourself personally. I feel like we've been talking a lot about AdLib, and I want to really learn a little bit more about yourself and what kind of things how you see certain things, right? So as far as being an entrepreneur and really starting a company from the ground up, and obviously you've been in the industry for quite some time now. You seem like you know a lot about Programmatic. So if anyone has any questions, shoot them over to our friend. And what is one of the hardest things to deal with as a SaaS entrepreneur?
Stability, predictability. I think that's been one of the biggest struggles right now. For a while, it was focus. I had kind of a glide path down out of my full-time role at MediaMath as we were incubating AdLib there. Now that I've been since November full-time focused on it, the velocity of the development and the business development of the product has definitely increased exponentially. So it's true what they say, you can't be half pregnant. So now that I've figured out the focus problem, was able to minimize the risk as much as possible by getting some revenue generated, getting some cash flow to keep the business alive. Now that's the next biggest concern. I got married this past August.
Nice.
So it was a really good time. Thanks. Decided, what better time than now to quit my job. And thankfully, my wife has been incredibly supportive and understanding, and encouraging through this whole thing. And it's been great, but it creates anxiety, creates stress. Now that safety blanket is completely, or that safety net is completely gone, making sure that there's enough cash in the bank to keep the business running. We've been growing mostly organically since inception. We raised a tiny seed round a couple of years ago just to pay some legal bills and get off the ground. And since then, I've managed to get things going to the point where it's been able to support me full time. It's able to support our part-time team members and our co-founders who are currently moonlighting. We're on target to bring them on board, hopefully by the end of the year. So that's like capital, figuring out what to do, how to keep the lights on. Do we take on an investment and dilute, and dilute our equity? And what's the right balance? Is that the right thing to do? Is it worth it? So that's kind of the point that I'm facing right now as we get deeper into the year. And as we get closer to some of those targets, making sure that we're going to be able to reach those goals, and there's going to be capital, whether that be organic or some infusion to pay everybody and keep the lights on. Does everybody have the same answer to that question? Or?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's definitely, it's hard. It's not easy. And I feel like a lot of people I don't have a SaaS company, and just being in the industry, I see that, a lot of people think that it's really easy to build a product, and raise some cash and then exit and make a bunch of money. But it's definitely probably one of the hardest business models that I've seen. Other than, obviously like having a brick and mortar business could be pretty hard too. And I think everything has its own, pros and cons. So there's definitely that to it. Now, as far as, what on a personal level, as a business owner, what is one thing, and this is going to be a little, I guess, personal, and
Go for it.
just be as vulnerable as possible. What's one of the things that you don't think you're very good at as a entrepreneur that you're trying to fix?
Only one?
Yeah, well, yeah.
So prioritization is a tough one. I'm trying to get better at that. And I've shifted from a notepad to Trello, and I kind of have my different boards and like things that are to-dos, things that are in progress, things that are on my today list, and then my things that are like waiting for other people, and just structuring that so I make sure that I'm prioritized right for the day. I work from home most of the time, and I'm working by myself, and my co-founders are on other sides of the country and the planet. So it's kind of don't have that real-time feedback loop,
right,
to know exactly what needs to be working on. So I struggle with that as far as what should I be working on? Am I done for the day? And, turning off at night is also something that's hard to do. So creating a list of priorities, for the day. When that list for the day is done, I feel a little bit better about turning off and like getting into bed. And that's kind of helped me shift my, shift to a little bit of an earlier cycle, if you will. I was doing a lot of staying up until 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, just working, and it wasn't my best outputs. You're kind of tired and kind of low on energy. So if I finish my list, I put myself to bed, and then I get up at 7 or 8, 7, start working by 8, and have a much more productive couple of hours versus being tired from the night before, and waking up a little bit later. So I think that's the big one that I've been struggling with and trying to get better at. Yeah.
Cool. Well, glad you're working on that, man. And
thanks, bud.
Looking at the other side of things, what's something that you're really, really good at as a business owner?
I've just always been good at figuring things out, like solving problems. I don't get super intimidated by big problems. I'm more solutions oriented, and I like just to know, okay, as long as I know all the details and know everything, then figuring out a way to build a solution or create a solution or find a way around it or find a amicable resolution, I think is a skill of mine. So I don't get too intimidated. I kind of get excited by like a new challenge. I get a little bit like, okay, this is new. It kind of sucks now, but we're going to figure out a way to make this awesome, turn this into something awesome. And I really enjoy that challenge. That's kind of one of the things I don't mind that much of.
Yeah. Awesome. And we're running a little bit short on time here, so I'm just going to ask that last question. Do you have any questions for me?
I do. Of all the kind of founders you've spoken with, I would love to tap into your exposure to some of the great minds that you've spoken to. What is maybe one of the qualities that you've seen in founders that you speak in, the ones that you've seen be successful, like the ones that maybe whether you met with them earlier or you met with them recently, and they've that they've either gained a lot of successes or they've been successful. Is there one character trait or one, maybe a value that you've seen be common across all those founders?
100%. I think the number one thing that really stands out from most of the people that have been on the podcast so far is they all have a really strong sense of perseverance, where, like I had one guy that was building the company, and it took him, I want to say, 4 years to develop the product. And even then, like, he didn't stop. He didn't know that it was going to take so long, and he kept going. But a lot of them just, they have their one issue that they're trying to solve, and they don't really stop until they do that. Again, it comes back to, being able to control, like, your work-life balance, if you want to call it that. But a lot of them, like, it can be a bad trade, like you mentioned, like staying up late and like working up until, like super late hours of the night. But when you think about it, it's because you have that purpose, right? To create something and make something out of pretty much nothing. And I think that just knowing that you want to achieve something and you have a goal in mind, that you're not willing to like give up, no matter what kind of life throws at you, and you keep going. So I think definitely the number one trait that I've seen is perseverance in all these people, for sure.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah. Stubborn. I'm definitely stubborn, and that's the less elegant way, I guess, of describing it. Thanks for that, Lewis, and thank you so much for the time. It's been great chatting with you, and really appreciate the forum, and hope everybody gets to check out the platform.
Absolutely. Yeah. Anyone that is interested in running some quality traffic to their websites, definitely check out AdLib. I'm going to do that pretty much right after this. So thank you so much for being on here today. It was really a pleasure speaking, and we'll speak soon.
Take care, bud. Have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.